the third play of the game, they throw a pass out to the flat, and I run out there and I take the kid's legs out. But what happened was my left knee got stuck in the ground, and I ended up blowing out my left MCL. And at that time they didn't have the redshirt rules where you could sit out a season and come back. And so I was faced with the decision at 21 years old, do I rehabilitate and like take this year off and kind of forfeit the dream, or do I find a way to play through this? And really, it wasn't a decision at all. I knew something about pain medication. I knew that it killed pain. And so, you had to have surgery at Kent State, or where I was, just how everything worked in my area, to get your hands on prescription pain medication. So, being 21, I figured it's no harm, no foul. I just get them off the street from my buddy's brother, who's a drug dealer. And, he got us a couple Percocets, very innocent decision. The next week we played Penn State, and I had
you got a torn or a sprained MCL, and you're playing. You didn't get it, really?
Yeah, that's just like the Youngstown way. Like in college, there's an article that they call me like the lunch pail guy. Like that was our identity. Like I never missed a practice, I never missed a game. I dealt with torn labrums, I dealt with broken ankles, I dealt with torn MCLs. Like give me a brace, give me a Toradol shot, and give me a couple of Percocets, and I'll get the job done.
Wow.
And so it was pretty painful, but I took a couple Percocets before the games and against Penn State, and I had 15 tackles, and I thought I had a solution to all my problems because it killed the physical pain. But what happened this time that was different than the last time was it also killed emotional pain.
Yeah.
And I knew nothing about emotional pain. I had depression about the timing of the injury. I had anxiety about my NFL future. I had stress that I never experienced before in my life, and I couldn't identify it. And it's like one of those things that's, you don't know what you don't know, and what you don't know can really hurt you. And I was kind of put in that situation. And so, just like so many people that I work with, that very innocent decision really snowballed and opened that window for the progression. And, the next week it would be, I'd take it Monday to get through the week, and then before the game, and then Monday, Wednesday, Friday, then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, then, to wake up, to go to sleep, to eat, to see my girlfriend, to do anything. And so, by the end of it, my senior night, the night that I was supposed to honor and respect my parents for all the sacrifices they made so that I could, be in the position I'm in, unable to get my hands on Percocets, the same guy told me, try this. It's very similar to Percocet, and it was heroin. And so
smoke it or shoot it? Now, what did you do?
I actually snorted it. Yes, I was a snorter. Yeah. So it's like crazy to people. It's like, how could you get the NFL and do heroin? Well, like it doesn't just like, I just didn't jump to the top of the mountain. I took little baby steps, and before I knew it, it was totally normal in that time. And it just, I felt like I needed it to be myself. And, I took heroin before my senior night and had a horrible game. But, from that point, I was pretty deep, and I was very hurt, and I was very broken, and I didn't know any of that.
Hello and welcome to another exclusive interview by Recovery Today Magazine at recoverytodaymagazine.com, where first and foremost, we're a magazine of hope. Whether you're considering addiction recovery for yourself or a loved one, maybe you've been sober for a little while or it's a long, long time, you're going to find all kinds of topics and information related to sobriety, recovery, and really living a happy, successful, sober life at Recovery Today. My name's Rob Handling. I'm the editor-in-chief of Recovery Today. And like every single interview we ever do, I'm very excited about our guest today. He's super, super cool. I love the pre-interview kind of that we had. He is a superstar football player from Kent State University is where he is from. His story then kind of continued on. He was signed as a free agent to the New Orleans Saints following the 2014 NFL draft. About that time, he had suffered 2 injuries in the years prior, and he was prescribed opiate pain medication. And as he recovered, guess what overall happened? So the NFL career was a little bit short-lived because he was hooked on pain pills. Dependency eventually led him down a dark path to heroin addiction, and he hit rock bottom. At the end of his addiction, the once hopeful NFL player was homeless and without hope. The Rocky story today, he is nearly 2 years sober. He is an advocate in the field of addiction recovery. He travels all around the country. He speaks to schools, prisons, communities, anybody who will listen as he shares his inspirational story, helping those who are still struggling with what they need so desperately, and that is hope. My guest today is Luke Wollet. Dude, thanks for jumping on, man. You're a cool dude, man.
Yeah. Thanks for having me, Rob. And I enjoyed our conversation. And by the grace of God, I'll actually have 4 years sober in January.
Come on, man. So it's not 2, it's actually 3. Then I got the EPK. I think you told me that. My apologies.
You're good. I mean, praise God, right? It's a beautiful thing. And I'm glad to be here.
Good, man. So let's kind of break down the nitty gritty. I know that you live in Florida right now. But you were telling me that you're from Ohio and you got to play football in Ohio. It's practically religious. and Ohio State and all that kind of whatnot. And so take us through, man, the 1-room log cabin, I was born in through, give us the low down nitty gritty. Do not hold back the sordid details of such.
No. So it's funny. You say it's a religion. And whenever I get the opportunity to speak and travel, I always open and I tell people football was my first drug. And it's funny because what happened for me was I was an everything sports guy, and still to this day I play way too many rec sports and think I'm better than I am. But when I was younger,
it was in the NFL. You got to be a freaking stud of the stud of studs to even play even a day in the NFL, man. Like.
It was a cool experience. Obviously I didn't take full advantage of it. And everything worked out for me, but it was a great experience and something that has opened up some doors to this day. But now it's like flag football and basketball.
I have to ask, only that I don't forget, you were you made the team, you were on the roster, right? At some point, even the practice squad is.
So I was invited. So after the draft, they have like preferred free agents. So I was signed as a free agent and shortly released after that. At that point, and I'll get into it in my story, I was actually a full-blown heroin addict. So I was picked up by the Saints, addicted to heroin. And so, it's tough to do anything in life when you're addicted to drugs. And playing the NFL is one of those things that falls under anything. So it didn't work out well, as you could imagine.
Yeah.
And
anyhow, back up. I didn't mean to kind of sidetrack a little bit, but go back, man. Like football is sports, your first religion, and then so you're playing everything in high school and whatnot. When do you find out that you're really good? By the way,
so pretty young. A lot of stuff came very natural to me. I don't even want to say I was like the hardest worker. I was just always the fastest kid. My dad's 6'5". I have a cousin that was a Division I conference champion in track. So there was some genetics and just some God-given abilities. And I had a great love for the game. So like no one ever forced me to go to practice or a game.
Couldn't wait type of thing, huh?
Yeah. Like I said, when I was at practice or a game, nothing else mattered. So it was really an escape for me too. It was an identity. It was a purpose. It was an escape. And it covered up insecurities because I was Luke the athlete and I was very good at it. So I knew, I knew from a very young age that I was going to ride this train till the wheels fell off.
Good, man. So
Yeah.
you played baseball and basketball too, I assume? Everything?
Baseball, basketball, track.
You ever seen Russell Wilson drain 3-pointers?
I haven't. I haven't gotten to see him. I know he's a good baseball. He got drafted in baseball too.
That's why I kind of bring it up, is he was actually drafted by the Rockies. Now he's actually on their Yankees roster, as a matter of fact. They traded, but he could have had a stellar career in baseball. And actually, I've seen him. It was surprised me. Like, the guy can hit 3-pointers after 3-pointers after 3-pointers. The guy, I think there's just something with people like you where just every single thing you do. So anyhow, take it away.
Well, what's funny too, you say that, is like they say like 86% of NFL athletes were multi-sport athletes in high school. So I always tell kids, go play everything.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Look at Mahomes. Look at what's his name at the Cardinals. These guys, they're all like that.
They're all like it. Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, sports was everything to me. And, we get into high school, and, the thing about high school, I had an Italian Catholic mother. And so not only did I have a love of sports that kept me away from drinking and drugs, but I also had her. So I drank one time in high school. I came home and my mom beat me with a wooden spoon. She did the whole
like straight up thing. Beat you with a spoon.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the soap in the mouth.
Oh, I got soap in the mouth. Yeah. Yeah.
So like, if there was any incentive because of sports, she took away any of the other incentive to drink. In sports in high school, we were, regional champions in football. We were state runners up in basketball. We were state champions in track. And so, I started getting recognition. I was still a little undersized. I'm about 6 foot. I'm very athletic, but, maybe not Big Ten or SEC athletic out of high school. So I get a couple offers to Mid-American schools. And for anyone who doesn't know, they're Division I schools. They're the teams that play on Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday nights, and so they call it MACtion. And so I took my offer to Kent State, which is in Northeast Ohio. And, that's where my journey in college began. And so, at that point, not too much experiences with substances, but I do actually have a history, and I'm also in recovery from gambling. So I would, anytime I wasn't playing sports, I'm an addict of more. If I like it, I want more of it. And
are you addicted to your mobile phone now too? Like we were talking about?
Yeah. If you looked at my screen time, you'd probably recommend a treatment center for
Dude,
me.
I did. I knocked down an hour on Instagram before I even put my pants on, man. Like, I'm standing there in my boxer shorts and drinking my coffee, and the thing pops up, and it's like, you've been on, because I had to set it up. Of course, I just blow it off immediately, but like, it's a problem, man. Like, honestly, I honestly am starting to think like this is a problem. Like, there's too much dopamine. There's too much it's a real thing, man.
Yeah. I've been watching some like crazy videos on it. There's that one cool Netflix documentary that I've heard, The Social Dilemma.
Haven't seen it, heard a lot about it.
Watch it. It's incredible. But it's like, it's like these things are making us do things that we don't even really want to do. But, and I've caught that in my average day, because the problem is we can't get rid of them now so much because of work and other things. But now I'm catching these other times in hours that I'm wasting on these phones, in between stuff that I actually needed to do. So it is a scary place to be. And, we're going to find out what's going to be the repercussions of it eventually.
Yeah, we are, man. So fast forward. So when does your addiction start, man? Like, on the bio, it's like, we've heard this story so many times, man. It starts with an injury, pain pills. Like, by the way, you're a defensive player too, right? You're a guy that hits.
Yeah. Some people guess kicker, but I actually played safety. And, it's funny. So I'll give you the fast version. Freshman season, step into the game, one of my first plays in front of 40,000 people. The guy throws me like a divine interception right into my hands. I run it in for a touchdown. Really, like, there it is. So I get my big break, essentially. And so at that point, my sophomore season, I step into a starting role. I start every game. And during that year, I broke my ankle. And after the season, I have surgery and I'm prescribed pain medication, Vicodin. And so what's like, you know, what happened was I didn't have any emotional pain. So I took the pain medication as prescribed. Pain medication kills pain. And so, I just moved into my junior season. I still had a lot of things in front of me. I didn't even think too much about it. I didn't understand, like, you couldn't, when I was 20, 21, you couldn't explain to me what anxiety, depression, stress were. It didn't make any sense. I'm from Youngstown where it's like you're a man's man. In the football culture, you just deal with it. And so my junior season, our team goes 11-1. We're 15th in the country. For the second season in a row, I lead the conference in interceptions. I lead it in tackles. I become like an all-American safety.
That's pretty studly, especially when you're at a tiny school, man.
Yeah. I think I was the second ranked safety in the conference and maybe the 10th ranked safety nationally. Some projections had me like a 4th round draft pick, a 5th round draft pick, so, pretty exciting time. I actually signed with an agent out of California, Derek Fox. He represents some pretty big guys, Steve Smith and some other Hall of Famers, and news agencies are calling me, and we had so much talent on our team that everyone knew about us, and we almost played in the Orange Bowl. We lost a really close game in the MAC championship, so we got recognition that we never got before at Kent State. So not only did I have a very successful season, but our team had the best, one of the best seasons in the conference's history. And Northern Illinois ended up actually playing in the Orange Bowl that year. But anyways, just so much attention and so much excitement and everything that I dreamed of. And so I'm going into my senior season knowing that I just got to really perform at, a decent level. Teams are going to be watching me. It's a great opportunity to get drafted, to make my dream in the NFL come true. That's what I wanted to be since I was 6 years old, was an NFL football player. In the third game of the year, we're playing at LSU. Now, LSU that season had guys like Odell Beckham, Jarvis Landry, Jeremy Hill, like guys that are all pro guys right now. But, being from Kent State, we were so excited to play these games because it was a chance to show that you could handle that kind of a talent level. And we knew every NFL team was watching us. So it was a dream come true. And the third play of the game, they throw a pass out to the flat, and I run out there and I take the kid's legs out. But what happened was my left knee got stuck in the ground, and I ended up blowing out my left MCL. And, at that time, they didn't have the redshirt rules where you could sit out a season and come back. And so I was faced with the decision at 21 years old, do I rehabilitate and take this year off and kind of forfeit the dream, or do I find a way to play through this? And really, it wasn't a decision at all. I knew something about pain medication. I knew that it killed pain. And so, you had to have surgery at Kent State, or where I was, just how everything worked in my area, to get your hands on prescription pain medication. So, being 21, I figured it's no harm, no foul. I just get them off the street from my buddy's brother, who's a drug dealer. And, he got us a couple Percocets, very innocent decision. The next week we played Penn State, and I had
you got a torn or a sprained MCL, and you're playing. You didn't get it, really?
Yeah, that's just like the Youngstown way. In college, there's an article that they call me like the lunch pail guy. That was our identity. I never missed a practice, I never missed a game. I dealt with torn labrums. I dealt with broken ankles. I dealt with torn MCLs. Give me a brace, give me a Toradol shot, and give me a couple of Percocets, and I'll get the job done.
Wow.
And so it was pretty painful, but I took a couple Percocets before the games, and against Penn State, and I had 15 tackles, and I thought I had a solution to all my problems because it killed the physical pain. But what happened this time that was different than the last time was it also killed emotional pain.
Yeah.
And I knew nothing about emotional pain. I had depression about the timing of the injury. I had anxiety about my NFL future. I had stress that I never experienced before in my life. And I couldn't identify it. And it's like one of those things that's you don't know what you don't know, and what you don't know can really hurt you. And I was kind of put in that situation. And so, just like so many people that I work with, that very innocent decision really snowballed and opened that window for the progression. And the next week it would be I'd take it Monday to get through the week, and then before the game, and then Monday, Wednesday, Friday, then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, then to wake up, to go to sleep, to eat, to see my girlfriend, to do anything. And so by the end of it, my senior night, the night that I was supposed to honor and respect my parents for all the sacrifices they made so that I could, be in the position I'm in, unable to get my hands on Percocets. The same guy told me, try this. It's very similar to Percocet, and it was heroin. And so the
Smoke it or shoot it? Now, what did you do?
I actually snorted it. Yes, I was a snorter. Yeah. So it's like crazy to people. It's like, how could you get the NFL and do heroin? Well, like it doesn't just like, I just didn't jump to the top of the mountain. I took little baby steps, and before I knew it, it was totally normal in that time. And it just, I felt like I needed it to be myself. And, I took heroin before my senior night and had a horrible game. So after that, I go on and train for my pro day. And for people that don't know, a pro day is where all the NFL teams come out and they watch you. And we just happened to have a guy on our team that ran the third fastest NFL 40-yard dash ever. He ran a 4.3 or like a 4.24.
Good Lord.
Yeah, it was just like, he got drafted in the third round by the Steelers, Dre Archer. So we had every team at our pro day. And so, like, I'm running to the bathroom to snort these pills or to snort this or that just so I could feel normal, because, like, that's what these drugs do. They feel like we become very dependent on them. And, like, I needed to take it to be Luke Wollet at this point. And so, yeah, I mean, I tested horrible. I jumped like 27 inches. This is all stuff that anyone could look up online. I jumped like 27 inches. I ran like a 4.7. My bench press is like, it was like 8 or 9. I looked depleted. You have some pictures in that little Dropbox. And so I was broken physically, emotionally, spiritually, but pretty much due to my body of work in college. I mean, I had like 300 career tackles. I'm, like 5th all time in Kent State's history in interceptions. I mean, I had a, phenomenal career overall. And so I was picked up by the New Orleans Saints following the draft that year. And, just like anything in life, being addicted to anything makes life hard. And being an NFL athlete was just as hard, being a full-blown addict. So at that point I was released very shortly after. And, to be honest with you, I didn't really even care. I mean, I just had like this idea of like going to Vegas and doing drugs and being a gambler. And, my dream just turned to a nightmare. It robbed me of everything that I ever wanted. And I just,
how did you get homeless, man? How did you get homeless? Actually, the first thing I got to ask before I do that is, what I want to say is, do you ever, have you ever? But that's really a silly question. I don't know how to phrase it. I was going to say, like, do you ever think about like what it would have been like if you, hadn't hooked up with a drug dealer? And because, what I'm hearing is on the stuff with the, the pro day and all that, is that you are still able to get a shot because you were coasting on all the amazingness that you had done over 3 years. and the what if kind of a question. Maybe my question is, how do you reconcile that, man? Like, that's got to be a boogeyman. It's got to be something that you hear and think like, what if, man? Like, what if I wouldn't? What if this, then your senior year would have continued to propel you even higher? Like, instead of being an undrafted, you probably would have been drafted. What then? How do you reconcile that? And what's your thoughts around like what might have been?
Yeah, I'll tell you this. I tried for many years to get sober, and that same question kept me very sick, for a long time.
Yeah, and I just bring it up.
No, that's a great question. I love when people ask me this question. No, it's a really good question. Because when you're just like constantly chasing worldly things, that's like the pinnacle people think of. It's like prestige, money, success, and fame, and it's no different. Like that's what women and like that. Yeah, it's like it's the holy grail, right? So, the biggest thing for me was finding my faith, and there's a picture of me praying before the LSU game, and I remember asking God for 3 things that day, and I never prayed. And it's my uncle took the picture. I asked him for the speed to cover Odell Beckham, and I asked him for the strength to tackle Jeremy Hill, and then I asked him for a better relationship. And I don't think he answered the first 2 prayers.
Right. I was going to say.
But I believe he answered the 3rd prayer, and that was when I blew out my knee. It led me on this crazy, horrible path of misery. But I ended up finding everything I was looking for in life, which was peace and happiness and purpose. And I found that in a relationship with Jesus Christ, where my life ended up taking me. And so how I reconcile all that stuff is I don't think I would have ever found that if I would have kept attaining worldly success. Yeah. And everything that I truly ever needed in my heart, I found it through, a recovery group that led me to my Savior. And so that relationship has really changed my life, because I tried getting sober so many times. And then that question would creep in my head, and there was no solid answer for it. It's like, yeah, you did blow it. You did really mess that up. Like that was a great opportunity. And then I had like nothing else to look forward to, but now I have purpose. Now I have peace. And now I have that relationship.
Led me into my next question is I'm thinking like, we were talking along here, like, what's the purpose of your life, man? What is the purpose of your life? And then actually even a corollary kind of question, if that's the right word, secondary kind of question is, what's the purpose of our lives? And maybe even the third question, how does somebody find their purpose?
Yeah, well, for me, it's driven deep in my faith, and it's to disciple people. It's to spread the gospel of Jesus Christ, and I think He gives us the hope in the future that we all look for. I think if you just like kind of think about world from like a very secular, worldly thing, it's like kind of depressing that we're all here and that we're all going to be dead. And then it's like, what do we really have to look forward to?
Got to be something else, man. That's just what I always figured. It's got to be something else.
Yeah, no, there absolutely has to be. And so, my first and foremost thing is like I see so many people in addiction, and like, I've seen God transform my purpose to pain, or my pain to purpose, and to really love on people that are broken, to have them experience the love of Christ through me loving on them.
Mm-hmm.
And when they get to that place of, being able to listen and hear the message of the gospel, I love sharing it, and so.
It's our lane that we're in. It's our lane that we're in. I tell people constantly, it's funny, I was kind of doing the pre-interview. I knew your story, and I was like, God, I've interviewed all these people that are like faith recovery. Okay. I don't care how you get recovered. I really don't. If anybody would ask me, depending on your situation, my recommendation is not a therapist, is some kind of group-based, get a sponsor, AA, NA, something like that. If you can go to rehab, or you can do whatever it is. Not everybody's situation is very personal, but I really do feel like it is a spiritual disease. Okay. but it's interesting that there's all of these kind of faith messages. I don't know, kind of where I am right now is I feel like there's a spiritual battle going on. A fellow that I interviewed the other day does like spiritual warfare, and he's helping kids and things like that. Maybe that's kind of why this topic is coming up. But, you know, just to be clear to everybody, like, I don't care. I do, as a human, I care about what I believe is your eternal, you know, destiny and things like that. But really the purpose of recovery today is we just want you to live a happy life, man. Like, you know, if you feel like you're jacked up, messed up, wasting your life, you know, that's a problem. And then the theme that I kind of get out of faith-based, whether it's Christianity, and admittedly, I really don't know a lot about Zen or Buddhism or anything else. I'm sure there's wonderful people and all different kind of things that are out there, is kind of the whole opposite of worldly, like decadence. You know, I don't want to eat a little bit of ice cream. I want to eat the whole freaking gallon. Okay. I don't want to have sex. You know, it's not like maybe it's men and or women. You're not almost programmed for a monogamous type of thing. Like, I want this and I want this and I want this. It is more, like you said before, it's more. And this unbridled kind of discipline, whatever your faith might be, for me, there always was something like there has to be something more overall to believe in. And whatever that is, man, I think I like in AA, it's like my higher power, man. It's something that's spiritual, but explore that and find that. And I won't shy away from the fact that I'm a Christian, but at the same time, like I said, like, I want to be a wide net to every single person, man. Like, no judgment, like, just get well. You know, if you're meditating and you're a Zen, you're a Buddhist person, cool, man. If it works for you, roll with it. You know, that's what my purpose is from the magazine. As a human being, like, you know, I don't know, even then, man, I'm just kind of more like live and let live. So to throw it out there.
Yeah, no, you know, it's like one of those things. It's like, just hope that your God isn't always agreeing with you, because then you're praying to yourself again.
Yeah.
You know, and like God puts a lot of these things, you know, in boundaries for us to protect us a lot of times. And, you know, it is a, you know, I'll tell you this. I stay outspoken with my faith, but just like you said, our job is we're called to love on everybody. And that's just it. And I think that's what I want everyone to know, whether you're Jewish, whether you're gay, no matter who you are out there, that we love you. And like, we're broken as Christians, like, we're broken. Like, we're broken. We acknowledge that, you know, we need God and that we want to grow closer to him. So like, just understand that we don't think we're better.
It comes from a place of jacked upness.
That's right.
It comes from an admitted place of, you know, I'm jacked up, man, which I kind of, it's perfect overall into a healthy, authentic recovery. So take us through a little bit of what do you do? So what are you doing now? How did you find your way into it? And, you know, some stuff like that.
Yeah. So I right now I work for Banyan Treatment Center. I got saved down here. I actually had a therapist that stepped out in faith at the treatment center I was at. It was a secular treatment center. She said, you know, Luke, I want you to read the story of Esther in the Bible. And Esther, you know, saves the Jewish people. She gets elevated to this position of queen and saves the Jewish people from annihilation. And so it was a good story. It didn't really mean anything to me at the time. And then I come down here, I get a sponsor, tells me to go to church, do an altar call, and this guy says a beautiful prayer over me. And he paused, he said, "And Mr. Luke, Esther 4:14, perhaps you were created for such a time as this."
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just kind of like in that moment that I realized that God was with me this whole time. And that, like I said, with my knee injury, I realized that it was his journey to this point. And, you know, so from that, I really just started growing in my faith. And there was this treatment center, Banyan Treatment Center, who's my employer now. One of their first programs was a faith and recovery program, a Christ-centered program. It's a non-denominational program, and everything is biblically centered. And so essentially,
So
I
it's
work.
like a celebrate recovery type of deal, stuff like that, right?
Yeah. So it's like part of it. We have Christian counselors. We actually do baptisms at the beach. It's really a great program. The Psalm 34:18 says, God is close to the brokenhearted and saves those crushed in spirit. And like when I'm in that room, like when I'm in those rooms of like the Christ Fellowship or our Christ-centered program, the Lord just feels so close, and the presence of the Holy Spirit feels right over that place. And so I got connected with them, and so I started working as like a marketer for them, which essentially, wake up my dog. My dog's snoring. Hey, Shadow. Hey.
I can't hear the dog.
Yeah. So the Lord feels close to the place. So I essentially go out there. I work with families. I work with lawyers. I work with HR departments. I do some speaking about my own testimony, and we work with the families to get their loved ones help. And so we have 16 facilities all across the country now. But how I originally started with them was at that faith program.
Okay, nice. Well, what's on the horizon for you, man? I mean, you're a young guy, good looking dude. You've got a good head on your shoulders. You're at peace with yourself. Like, what kind of dreams, goals, aspirations does somebody that had strong dreams, beliefs, and aspirations have when they were 6 years old, thinking I'm going to be a pro? Like, you're obviously somebody with a high capacity for goal setting and for belief in the goals that you have. Like, what do you want right now for your, how old are you?
I'm 28.
So you're a pup, man. You're still pretty young, dude. So like, you got a lot of years, man, decades. Like, what do you want for yourself, man?
Yeah. I'm in this, like, and I touched on it a little bit earlier. I'm just in this place of just like, I don't know if it's because of the pandemic, but just really leaning into my faith. And what's happened was I was traveling a lot, doing a lot of speaking for Banyan, doing a lot of speaking at these events and churches and all this cool stuff. And like this pandemic really made us all take a step back. And so it's been just a beautiful thing where I've just been able to work with the patients and been able to work with the families a lot more one-on-one, and it like got me back to like the true roots of like why I do what I do in the first place. And that's just to love on these people. And so, of course I have different goals of, maybe one day doing my own thing, but like I'm with such a great program right now.
Start your own place, you mean?
Yeah, one day.
So yeah, I guess part of the thing that I just got is like, I mean, recovery is a central part overall to who you are in your life and all that kind of stuff like that. But actually, even vocationally, so you're thinking like maybe one day I will have a place. Because I know that you told me that during the pandemic, you got your real estate license. So is it real estate mogul by day? And it's what is it, man?
No, not too much with the real estate, but more just living in this moment and just loving on these people. Maybe one day God will open the right doors and there'll be maybe I'll have a Christ-centered program. But it's funny, I always say I make plans and God laughs. And so as much as you're right, I am a goal-setting person. I really just have learned to trust God and to try to stay in the moment.
Whiteboard, dude, your whiteboard over your shoulder there impressed me. I was like, damn, that's a freaking to-do list. Like, that's a lot of items. I had somebody the other day, a friend and counselor of mine, that they're like, why don't you, like, what do you do? Like, how do you, and I said, like, I write stuff on lists, or I put it in my phone, or I forget, or like, so I'm always envious of the whiteboard guy. Like, that's kick ass, man. Like,
You should see my phone. It's got like 6,000 to do things, I got people I got to call back. It's a blessing though, sometimes I get a little overwhelmed, but I couldn't even help myself 4 years ago. And so, it's just good to be present today and to be able
How can people follow you, man? How can they connect? Anybody that connected and stuff or wants to know you or anything like that? What's all your stuff, man?
Yeah. The best way is Instagram. You can follow me at Luke, LUKE _ Wollet, WOLLET. From that point, my website's up there. You know, you can always private message me. If you're looking for help for a loved one, you can call into our call center, and they can kind of direct you, and they'll even reach out to me to help you. 888-493-4429.
Okay.
That's 24/7.
Right on.
So I'm very easy to get in touch with. I'm an easy guy to get a hold of.
Right on, man. Well, it's been a real pleasure to spend a little time with you and chat. You know, like I said, I always enjoy the pre-interview a little bit more too, you know, and just kind of finding out who somebody is, letting them know a little bit of who I am, who we are, what we're about. We're a magazine of hope, man. So hopefully somebody that's out there has got some hope, can relate to some part overall of this. And it's an honor and it's a pleasure to spend time with you today and to have you share with us, man. I thank you for it.
Awesome. Thanks for having me on, Rob, and thanks for all the good work you do, brother.
Absolutely. This has been another fun, cool interview with a fun, cool person, Luke Wollet, Recovery Today magazine. And this is a wrap.